Hello everyone and welcome. Believable rumors and leaks on Nintendo's next-gen console have released. Multiple details come from various developers and news outlets. We were originally going to discuss this and a few other news topics on our podcast, the Highland Gamescast, but we had to delay it until the October 7th episode. Before we begin with the big report, here's a quick summary. Its new features reportedly include pairing the Nintendo Switch, Switch Lite, or Switch OLED with the new console, and having it play similar to a more advanced Wii U. As odd as it may sound, this could easily be done, as the standard Nintendo Switch can already extend or manipulate a video across multiple screens. It will support higher resolutions up to 4K and HDR, upgraded versions of current popular games, and more. Yes, Nintendo has come out and denied some of these rumors, but as many of you know, they also told us they had no plans or intentions on releasing different versions of the Nintendo DS. The same when they denied any revision or second model of the 3DS, denied rumors they would make mobile games, denied rumors on Wii U ending production, denied rumors of a Switch Lite. Even when we literally already had stores selling Switch Lite screen protectors and other accessories. Denied rumors on a Nintendo Switch with a larger screen, denied Majora's Mask 3D, denied Skyward Sword HD, and many other leaks and rumors that ended up being true. It does make sense for a lot of developers to have been using a dev kit for a while now. Developers have stated dev kits for the original Nintendo Switch began being sent out up to 2 years before its official release in March 2017. Nintendo actually announced the Switch, or as it was known then, the Nintendo NX, about a year before this, in April of 2016. With developers getting development units almost 2 years before its release, if Nintendo was worried about it being leaked, it makes sense for them to get ahead of it and announce it themselves. Or the NX could have been announced in order to raise their market share and get fans and shareholders excited due to the company having low sales at the time. This main report comes from Bloomberg. At least 11 companies, including Zynga, have tools from Nintendo to make 4K Switch games. Many people were surprised to learn that Nintendo's new video game console is missing a common feature of rival systems: support for high-fidelity 4K graphics. Perhaps most perplexed were the numerous developers who were working on 4K games using a software toolkit provided by Nintendo. Employees at 11 game companies said their teams were in possession of Nintendo's 4K development kit for the Switch. The companies span the globe, ranging from large publishers to small studios, and include at least one that has never made a console game before, Zynga. According to the employees, who asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to discuss their projects publicly, yes, these are the famous NDAs, and the reason why Nintendo and other developers legally have to say no to everything, even when they know everyone else already knows that it is real. Even if something was proven to be coming out tomorrow, an NDA means you basically have to deny even thinking about it today. It continues, but the 4K capability didn't come to pass. It's unclear exactly when the design changed. The reason, according to a person familiar with Nintendo's hardware planning, was component shortages, a far-reaching problem born out of the COVID-19 pandemic. After unveiling the Switch OLED, Nintendo said it had no plans for launching any other model at this time, which again, remember, is exactly what they said about the Switch Lite, Switch OLED, and almost every other console going back to even before the original Nintendo DS, and many of their leaked games. Nintendo has slumped while console rivals have risen. By the time Nintendo showed off the new console in July, the company had already handed out the 4K kits to outside developers and asked them to design software to support the higher resolution. Developers declined to speculate on Nintendo's plans for another console, but said they expect to release their 4K Switch games during or after the second half of next year. Last month, Zynga said that Star Wars Hunters, a game for the Switch and smartphones, will likely be delayed until 2022, after initially being planned for release this year. Although Bloomberg identified 11 companies using the 4K kits, the actual number is probably much higher. Chip supply issues triggered by the pandemic present a unique obstacle. Shortages of some important electronic components are hurting production across many industries, with automakers estimated to lose more than $100 billion as a result. NVIDIA is one of many semiconductor designers that have said they're unable to fulfill all of the orders they are getting. Even outside of the most powerful and advanced processors, electronics makers face an uphill struggle to secure inexpensive but essential parts, such as power and data converters. In a recent interview with Bloomberg, Toshiba singled out demand from game console makers as an area where it's struggling to catch up. One specific class of component, ABF substrates, is necessary for the 4K Nintendo product, but supplies of those parts are now fully booked until 2025, said executives at component suppliers to Nintendo who asked not to be identified. Also, adding on to this, due to all of the computer supply components running out, it was stated even Nvidia, who makes the computer chip and internals for the Nintendo Switch, would soon end production of the specific computer chip that powers the Nintendo Switch. So when this happens, whether or not Nintendo themselves want to stop selling the Nintendo Switch and move on to another console, they would literally be forced to do this. If Nvidia isn't producing the computer chips that power the Nintendo Switch, then Nintendo simply wouldn't be able to keep producing the Nintendo Switch. And of course, I want to give a huge thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who give us video ideas like this, some of our Zelda theory, top 10 list, and discussion topics that we discuss on our podcast or other videos. If you would like a shout out at the end of all of our videos or the beginning of our podcast, the Hylian Gamescast, as well as any of the other benefits mentioned. So thank you Jon Snow, ZAIN, FRAN, WIGGLYWIGGLE, NORNARB or Brandon, SOBERX, Mr. MONOCLED, METROID, Jen, SuperNX64, David, Zoe, Natsu, Jessie, ANDREMOI, ASHTIN, Justin, Candy, Chad, BKRS7, Larulian Sheep, Largnar, Monica, Shadow to Us, Rusty, Lovable Christy, Henry, and of course, Gus. Thank you all so much.